Okay, before I start this video, let's take a moment of silence for all the middle class and lower class citizens of Great Britain. You know what? Let's take a moment of silence of middle class and lower class of the whole world. Okay? I think that's enough. That's enough. We don't need to care about the middle class anyway. Like, who care about middle class anyway? Give me a break. Little on lower class, right? So, before I talk about Orwell, I'd like to point out a few things. Middle class people and lower class people doesn't really matter, do they, right? Because like we have to care about, since I'm talking about George Orwell, I'm gonna take an example mostly from the Britain, right? Where middle class people are useless, to be honest. We need to care about monarchy, you know, the kings and queen, they need security, they need good foods. So like you have to think about them and work hard. And after all, Comrade Napoleon is always right. I mean, like I don't understand all these politicians, and I don't really know much about British politics, but I'm sure they are nice. Okay, they are bringing all these immigrants from all around the world, which it's nice, right? Since I'm an immigrant, you know, like I see something remarkable with British. These immigrants, people who look like me, come from certain parts of the world and come to Britain, and they say they don't really like it there. Are you guys keeping them forcefully? Like I don't understand. They come to the Britain and they say it's not really nice here. You know, they do these things. They don't respect our culture. So, well, so at least they have freedom of speech, right? Unlike British-born people. Okay. So I'm not taking a crack at Britain or England. Okay, every country has its own vices. Like for example, Sri Lanka. Okay, we have a political family. I'm not going to name them because you know I don't want beef with any politician. They have more net worth than some tech billionaires in Silicon Valley, and Sri Lanka is a poor country, you know. But I mean, at least they are having a great life. Their son and daughter, so they can live in Los Angeles and whatever. So I'm fine with that. Just like the British monarch and politician, as long as they live happy, I'm happy. Okay, just like George Orwell. So I came to talk about George Orwell. Let me talk about George Orwell. So I read this book. I'm not going to talk about this book because this book, I don't like this book. Why I don't like this book? So I read 20 pages of this book. Let me give you a little bit of backstory, okay? I've been writing a novel. Since I'm an intellectual and stuff, I decided, okay, I need to write a novel. I've been writing that novel for like over a year, and I wrote like 8 to 9 chapters, right? The 9th chapter is not finished, it's half done. And to me, I thought this is the greatest novel ever wrote in the history of writing. Ever since the caveman found out that they can write stories, I think my story is remarkable. But this guy, he just slapped me in my face and told me my novel is not that great, okay? He directly did not say that, but I realized that what I was writing was utter bullshit. It was just trash, okay? Because the novel I was writing, it's not something that I lived. So I just stopped writing it and I decided to write something I have lived, like he suggests, right? Okay, so George Orwell, he is one of my favorite authors, arguably the best writer, okay, for me, okay, but he's from British, okay. You know, they have bad teeth. I have bad teeth. Damn it. I cannot take insult other people when I have the same problem, okay. Okay, they eat bad food, okay, they eat bad food, okay. So George Orwell, you cannot take his ideas seriously because he eat chips and fish, so not exactly food, is it, right? So the thing is, I'm really conflicted with George Orwell writing. He is a great writer and his writing are very easy to understand. For me, it's easier to understand George Orwell writing. Maybe because I'm an intellectual, it could be that, maybe because of that. His writing are very easy to understand and he's on the point, okay? And his books are not happy. I like happy ending. That sucks. I don't like to read sad stories. And the thing what I'm trying to say is, if you are someone, maybe you have read one of George Orwell book, right? Maybe you read Animal Farm. Maybe you have read 1984, which is a very famous book, right? And you finish reading 1984 and you think like, oh, this guy write very nice book. Oh, I really like his writing. He tells great stories. Wow, I should read another of his book. Stop right there. Stop right there. Okay, you read 1984. That's enough. No need to read any of his other work. Read someone else. Read Tolkien. Read J.K. Rowling. Read Dostoevsky if you want like sad stories, okay? Dostoevsky tell very sad stories, but not disturbing as much as George Orwell. So, the thing is, once you read George Orwell books, at least 3 of George Orwell books, the problem is, this guy will live inside your head. Okay, he will literally live inside your head like a British ghost. Okay, so this is the problem I have with George Orwell. He is not leaving my head. He is in my head, and I don't like that. Like, for example, now if I watch a news, okay, let's say I watch a news clip, and I watch the news clip and I think like, okay, so there is a problem, okay, there is that. And this fucking guy come inside my head saying with a British accent, obviously he's British, right? I assuming he have British accent, okay? And he tell me, you see that, don't you? See, this is not true. This is like, oh my God, even if I go outside the world, I become more cynical after reading George Orwell, to be honest. I feel like I can't be part of any herd, right? So that's a problem. So like, for example, I'm going to take example with American politics, because obviously the United States politics are way, way famous thanks to people like Donald Trump, right? It's very famous. Like, for one reason or another, I see in the YouTube there are Republican podcasts, Republican podcasts and liberal talk show and all that, right? I don't trust any of them. I don't think none of them have the best interest in people. Obviously, they don't have to have best interest of me because I'm not a citizen of United States. But I don't think they have best interest for citizen of United States either. So the thing is, whenever I watch a political thing, or even if I watch a movie, I see things like I'm not supposed to see, or I genuinely don't want to see, right? So reading George Orwell is not a nice way to live. Okay, after you read George Orwell, it's like a virus. George Orwell is a virus. I understand why people wanted to ban his book back in the day, because this guy, once he get inside your brain, he will never leave. Like for example, you can read a book like from Dostoevsky, right, which is like very disturbing, Note from Underground or Crime and Punishment. When you read either of those books, if you read Note from Underground, you will say, okay, the underground man is disturbing. I little bit see myself in him. Or if you read from Crime and Punishment, you will think, okay, Rasnikov is kind of like me. You will think that, I think at least. And after that, you will forget about it. You know, you will think, oh, okay, let's forget. But this George Orwell will come to your head and say, oh, you think the underground man is like you, right? But you know what's the real problem, right? Real problem is the ruling class. Oh my God. It's like, just try to take any political philosophy or read it. And I have read some philosophies which I like. I like people like Friedrich Nietzsche, Socrates, and what the other guy named? David Benetta, yes. I have read a little bit of philosophy, right? But none of them has that impact like George Orwell have. Well, except for Socrates. I think Socrates is probably the greatest philosopher of all time. You can read something from Friedrich Nietzsche, like, I don't know, Birth of Tragedy or Gay Science or whatever. But still, while you're reading, you think like Orwell. You can read a political manifesto like communism, or, you know, like from John Locke or something. But you will still feel like George Orwell. Like if you read something from Karl Marx, you will think, this sounds nice, it is, but how are you going to make that happen? We seen what happened when you put it into practical. Like, if you are not interested in politics, or if you just want to have a normal brainwash life, which is a fine way to live, don't get me wrong, it's a happy way to live. I don't recommend you reading George Orwell. It's okay if you really want to read just 1984 and imagine, okay, he's talking about Nazi Germany, leave it at that, okay? Don't think about North Korea, don't think about Iran, don't think about China, okay? We are all happy, okay? We are a happy bunch, okay? The world is perfect. There is nothing wrong with the world, and you are just imagining things, okay? So, just, buyer be aware, I guess that's the phrase. I'm not trying to diss George Orwell, but I think his books are too harsh and too realistic. It is really hard to not make connection with the real world after you read his books, okay? There is parallel between George Orwell's whatever, like a book like Coming Up for Air or Burmese Days. Burmese Days, it's a fucking nightmare for me, Burmese Days, okay? 1984, not that much, but I really loved Animal Farm. God, like, if you want that kind of life, not being in any side, yeah, by all means read George Orwell. But like, let's say you are a liberal, right? You don't want to get on with this filthy conservative. If you read George Orwell, and he will show you, oh, you're not perfect after all. You're just like them. You're filthy too. So you will stand in the middle, you will think like, what the fuck, where I'm supposed to go, right? It's it become very hard to have a political opinion if you have read George Orwell books and essay. I'm sure George Orwell not a perfect guy or a saint, but his writing is it has left a huge impact on me. I'm not saying only him, there are some other writers as well, like Plato. I like Plato because he wrote Socrates stuff. Plato is a thief who stole from Socrates, okay? I would not have it any other way. And I like Friedrich Nietzsche for some reason. And I do like some modern day writers like J.K. Rowling, and you know what? I like the Twilight Saga. Okay, it's nice. It's nice, guys. The Twilight Saga is nice. Although I don't remember the author's name. Sorry. And I like One Piece, which is long, and there are lots of Japanese manga I like too. Comic book, I like Alan Moore, but none of them had the terrible impact George Orwell had on my worldviews. So, okay, I feel like before I was reading George Orwell, I was naive. After I reading George Orwell, I become more cynical, and I don't want to deal with politicians. But I see everywhere there is politics, whether we like it or not. Everything is politics. Okay, you watch a cartoon, you watch a movie, you buy a hamburger, you buy a cheeseburger, you cook some bacon and egg. It's all politics. It's all politics, guys. I know how can eating bacon and egg can be politics. It is very political statement. What are you saying? You're eating bacon, huh? So that means you don't like this type of people, huh? So yeah, everything is politics. It's these days. Probably it always has been. I mean, like people like Niccolo Machiavelli, Plato. Those people talk about politics, like Plato, Aristotle, the way before Christianity or other religion came, they talk about politics. Even I see you go to church or a temple, still it's politics. This religion and politics, it goes along together, okay? It goes along together, like yin and yang, not in a good way, by the way. So that's it for my, oh my god, it's a long video. I'm sorry, okay? When I start talking, I don't know when to stop. Anyway, if you watch until the end, subscribe, okay? If you subscribe, I will donate $1 million to British monarchy, okay? Okay, people will probably not subscribe. You know, I'm not going to donate any money to monarchy. I'm going to buy a new Lamborghini so I can pay taxes for the government, so they can have a good life. It's not about me, it's always about them, okay? Please subscribe.